Hey everybody. So there is a moment in Hell Saito where everything falls apart at once. One of your teammates goes down, the arena explodes, shadow enemies spawn, somebody panic revives, and suddenly your entire squad is dead in under 5 seconds. That's Hell Saito. This boss fight is so brutal that it has been breaking random matchmaking in Legends. Some players think it's the greatest fight Sucker Punch has ever made, while other players think it's complete garbage. But after running this fight over and over with my team, shout out to Dazzle 7, Dominio 292, and Librash, I started realizing something. Hell Saito isn't just difficult. This is not just a enemies have more health mode. This mode completely changes the structure of the fight. It introduces faster boss aggression, tighter timing for parries, harsher penalties for dying, extra dangers in the arena, and massive explosive mechanics. Basically, Sucker Punch looked at a normal raid boss and said, what if we made every single mistake catastrophic? And that's exactly what this encounter feels like. Because unlike most difficult bosses, Hell Saito doesn't just punish you, it punishes your entire team. It is designed to create chaos. And once you understand that, the whole fight starts to make sense. So let's get into it. If you're wiping over and over in the Hell Saito fight, the biggest mistake your team is probably making is thinking that this is a DPS check. It's not. This fight is a survival and mechanics check first. Damage only matters if your team is alive long enough to actually do it. One extra greedy combo is not worth dying for. One missed dodge is not worth losing an entire run for, because every death in this encounter creates a chain reaction that makes everything worse. You die. A giant shade spawns on your body. That shade creates a massive yellow damage zone. Now your teammates can revive you safely. Mechanics start overlapping. People panic roll. Someone gets trapped in vines. Another player gets clipped by missiles. And suddenly the whole run collapses. That's how this fight works. So before we even talk phases, understand this. The best player in this fight is not the player doing the most damage. It's the player staying alive consistently. And if you take nothing else from this guide, learn this one thing. You need to learn how to parry the shades. That single skill changes this entire fight. Before you even queue into this fight, there are a few things that you should absolutely bring. First, smoke bombs, and don't use them greedily. If you can equip a smoke bomb, do it. Too many teams save the smoke bombs for damage windows when their real value is defensive utility. Smoke bombs are incredible for reviving teammates, clearing the bomb marks, creating breathing room, and stabilizing bad overlaps. If you're running smoke, bring armory so you can refill ammo while you're using it. Second, rifles. If your class can use a rifle, equip it. The range pressure helps massively with dangerous elite enemies and priority targets. Third, voice chat. I genuinely think that this fight becomes twice as hard without communication. You need callouts. You need somebody saying, shades incoming, marks on me, vines, blue berserker spawning, smoke here, revive the left side. Like, you need to be able to call out what is happening in the fight. There are simply too many mechanics happening simultaneously for silent teams to stay coordinated consistently. If you don't have a mic, seriously, get a cheap one. Even a basic headset plugged into the PS5 controller is enough. And finally, bring archers. At least one or two archers. Archers are insanely valuable because they can instantly kill dangerous adds from range before those enemies become a problem. Meanwhile, the samurai acts as a frontliner and a stagger tank. The shinobi provides vanish and smoke safely, and the mercenary can bring support with healing. Something to keep in mind is that the faster that dangerous enemies die, the cleaner the fight becomes. Phase 1 is all about controlling ads while learning Saito's pacing. And this is where most teams make another major mistake. They tunnel vision the boss. Do not ignore the ads. Ideally, you have one player pressuring Saito as much as possible, and then the other 3 clear mobs immediately. Throughout the entire counter, smaller enemies should usually die first. Yes, technically you want boss damage, but every extra enemy alive creates more chaos and more mechanics to overlap. At the very start of the fight, coordinated teams can use smoke bombs together to stay hidden and instantly destroy the bohillas before things spiral out of control. Now, let's talk about 2 mechanics that define this encounter. First, shades. These things suck. They are awful. They are the worst. And honestly, they are probably the single most important mechanic in the entire fight. The only reliable way to consistently deal with shades is parrying them. You have to learn this. Shades do not care what else is happening. They spawn during other mechanics. They overlap everything. They pressure revives. They force movement. And if your team cannot handle shades consistently, the fight becomes exponentially harder. Here's what helps. Somebody should always call out incoming shades. So to do this, you can watch Saito's spirit points. When he reaches 3 points, he will call out shades. There's also a very distinct audio cue when they spawn. You will hear it, and if you do this fight long enough, you're gonna recognize it. If you need to, add parry window to your gear. Seriously, add it to 4 pieces of gear. Add it to all pieces of gear. Ideally, you have it on 1 or 2 pieces of gear, but whatever makes you comfortable until you learn the timing. If you're still struggling, practice in regular Saito first. One weird thing that a couple people have told me is that the Yari feels easier for parrying shades. Now, this might just be personal preference, but if you're struggling, hey, try it out. Another massive tip, when shades are about to spawn, face your camera towards Saito. This helps enormously with the shades so that they don't spawn behind you. Now here's the interesting part. Early in the fight, you can sometimes skip shades entirely if your team pushes enough damage and forces phase 2 quickly. But don't rely on that, because shades will come back later. Learn the mechanic properly. And honestly, once you become comfortable parrying shades, this fight feels completely different mentally. You stop panicking, you stop scrambling, everything slows down. Now let's talk about the vines. Saito periodically places red circles at players' feet. Those circles become vines that trap you. Usually, Saito helps you immediately by stabbing you in the face. The mechanic itself is quite simple. The problem is everything else is happening simultaneously. So the key here is look before you roll. You have time. Don't panic double roll directly into fire or berserkers or corruption pools or another vine. You can roll once, reposition mentally, then roll again. That tiny pause saves lives. Meanwhile, Saito himself increasingly targets one player with longer and faster attack chains. The red attacks are avoidable, just don't get greedy. One extra hit is never worth dying. Occasionally, Saito creates a massive yellow explosion zone around himself. Don't stand in it. After that yellow area explodes, he does unavoidable AoE damage, but during that brief pause, he's vulnerable, so it's actually a really good damage window. Phase 2 is where the encounter starts trying to overload your brain. Saito disappears and begins spawning massive boss shades around the arena. Each one creates different hazards. The Kitsune shade creates ice circles that freeze your health. Don't stand in them. The Oni shade spawns Onibi. Don't get hit by them. The spider and the snake shades create corruption circles that deal damage over time. And yeah, don't stand in those either. Honestly, by this point, the rule becomes simple. If you see a circle on the ground, assume that it wants to kill you, because it probably does. On top of all this, the large shades occasionally target players directly with melee combos, and thankfully these are dodgeable. But now we add another mechanic, the missile mark. Periodically, Saito places a mark over a player's head. That player will start dropping red circles everywhere, which call in missile strikes. And since we already established circles are bad, you need to move. This is where smoke bombs become absolutely critical. Smoke bombs and group vanish can completely clear these marks. This removes one entire mechanic from the battlefield temporarily, and that is huge. When marks are about to appear, call them out immediately. Stack near teammates with smoke bombs. Coordinate vanish timing. Clear the marks. This dramatically reduces chaos. Meanwhile, Saito's melee combos get faster and longer during this phase. Do not challenge these combos greedily. Respect them and reposition. And now the ads become much more dangerous as well. You're gonna start seeing Yukionas, you're gonna start seeing elite enemies, you're gonna start seeing prime enemies. These should become priority targets immediately. Your ultimates are usually better spent killing elite waves than damaging Saito himself, because dead elites mean fewer overlaps, cleaner positioning, safer revives, and less panic. The faster that ads die, the more manageable the fight becomes. Once Saito reaches lower health, phase 3 begins. This is where giant bohillas spawn around the arena in a massive circle. Positioning matters a lot here. You generally want to stay near the center of the arena, but close enough to react to the explosions. When the first set detonates, immediately sprint towards the outer edge of the arena. This section kills tons of players because they either panic roll, lose awareness of arena positioning, overcommit to damaging ads. So when you see this should be your priority. It's just surviving. After this, mechanics continue stacking repeatedly while Saito's combos become even faster and longer. And eventually, you'll see one of the biggest warning signs in the fight. You're going to see 3 blue berserkers spawning together. And this is basically the game telling you the end is near. You need to kill them fast, because if those berserkers survive into the next phase, your run is probably over. Eventually, Saito enrages at around roughly 15 to 20% health. This is the final phase. This is the DPS check. Saito stops somewhere in the arena and begins unleashing unavoidable AoE damage constantly. At this point, the fight becomes a race. You either kill him or he kills you. Everybody needs to focus Saito immediately. No hesitation, no split damage, no chasing random enemies across the arena. But this is exactly why ad management throughout the entire fight matters so much. Because if dangerous mobs are still alive during this phase, they interrupt your damage. They force you to move, and they usually cause a wipe. This is why elite enemies needed to die quickly earlier. This is why survival mattered. This is why revives mattered. Everything in this encounter builds toward this final burn phase. Now, here's something that's kind of surprising. Once you learn the mechanics, staying close to Saito often becomes easier than staying far away. Why? Because close range gives you more predictable attack timing, better spirit generation, faster ultimate gain, and generally just more control. But that only works after you fully understand the fight. Before that, play it safe. And honestly, the biggest thing you need is consistency. Not luck, not perfect builds, not overpower damage, consistency. You need to find 3 people with microphones who are willing to spend hours bashing their face against this boss. They need to be willing to spend hours learning together, because this fight was clearly designed around cooperation and repetition. It is supposed to be difficult. It is supposed to be overwhelming. It is supposed to punish bad coordination. But every mechanic in this fight is learnable. Every wipe teaches positioning. Every failure teaches timing. Every phase becomes easier once your team develops a rhythm and communication. And eventually, there is a moment where the fight suddenly clicks. The panic disappears, the shades stop feeling impossible, the overlaps stop feeling random, and the entire encounter starts feeling controlled instead of chaotic. Once again, I would like to shout out my team. I would not have been able to clear this fight without them. So thank you, Dazzle 7, thank you, Dominio 292, and thank you, Librash. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content and you want to support the channel, there are a few ways that you can help out. First, drop a like on the video and share it with your friends, family, or anyone you think would enjoy it. It really helps the channel grow. Second, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss a future video. And third, if you would like to support me directly, you can do so at allbashgaming.com. In there, you can buy me a coffee, and now you can also rep the channel with your own merch. You can grab your Loot Goblin t-shirt or the classic "It's not a glitch, it's a tech" t-shirt over on my shop. All the links you need are in the description. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. See you in the next one.